Boris Johnson has admitted the government didn't understand the coronavirus in the first few weeks and months of the pandemic and suggests things could have been done differently. Speaking as he marked his first full year in office, the Prime Minister said there are very open questions on whether the lockdown came too late. The comments are a change from the previous insistence that the right decisions were taken at the right time. Labour says today's remarks now show that wasn't the case. Here's our political editor, Laura Kuenssberg.
366 days in number 10.
Hi Laura.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome.
He won an election.
Sanitizer.
We left the EU.
You walked through this door as Prime Minister.
But the days have been dominated by a crisis no one could have imagined. COVID-19.
What have you got wrong so that you get it right next time?
I think, Laura, when you look back at this crisis, everybody can see that this was something that was new, that we didn't understand in the way that we would have liked in the first few weeks and months. And I think probably, the single thing that we didn't see at the beginning was the extent to which it was being transmitted asymptomatically from person to person. But I am very proud of many of the things that people in our public services did, that members of the public did to deal with coronavirus.
What you're saying today now is that the response was too slow because the disease wasn't understood.
I think it's fair to say that there are things that we need to learn about how we handled it in the early stages. I think what people really want to focus on now is what are we doing to prepare for the next phase.
But Prime Minister, people also want to know what happened, though. But Prime Minister,
you're talking about this as though it's in the past,
but
Laura,
people
and
want
it's
to know
not.
what
It's the
happened,
present.
because hindsight isn't just a wonderful thing, it's also just a useful thing. And people want to know what happened. 45,000 people died who've tested positive. What do you think the mistakes were?
We mourn every one of those who lost their lives, and our thoughts are very much with their families. And I take full responsibility for everything that government did.
But did you take it seriously enough at the start?
There will be plenty of opportunities to learn the lessons of what happened. But the best way to honour those who lost their lives, the victims and their families, is now, because you keep talking about this as though it's in the past, Laura, and as though we must now have a look back. Actually, we need to make sure that we're prepared for the future.
Prime Minister, isn't that precisely why now is the time to be honest about what went wrong?
Yes.
Do you regret now that lockdown happened when it did? Many people believe it might have been too late.
You're trying to run a kind of inquiry into what happened.
Prime Minister, I'm not trying to run an inquiry. I'm trying to get you to acknowledge what might have gone wrong.
I think when you listen to the scientists, the questions that you have just asked are actually very open questions as far as they are concerned. And there will be a time, obviously, to consider all those issues.
Surely the best way to be prepared is for people to be confident that the government will act quickly enough the next time. I mean, wasn't there a pattern that developed over time? You said you didn't need to ban public gatherings, and then you did.
No.
The government said we didn't need to wear face masks, and now we do. You didn't pursue community testing, and now you say that's vital. Isn't this a story of delay that sadly cost lives?
No. If you look at the timing of every single piece of advice that we got from our advisors, from SAGE, you will find that whenever they said that we needed to take a particular step, actually we stuck to that
maybe your scientists
advice
were wrong.
like glue. And well, Laura, maybe there were things we could have done differently, as I've said.
What's the hardest thing that you have had to decide in this room?
I think it would be difficult to choose the single most difficult thing that I've personally had to deal with. But
Gone, perhaps, his insistence that the right decisions were made in this room at the right time. But what of the tragedy behind care homes' closed doors?
Your health secretary claimed that a protective ring had been thrown around care homes. You know that's not the case.
Well, we've done a huge amount, and I've mentioned.
But it was too late, wasn't it?
I've mentioned the difficulty of asymptomatic testing, but actually, thanks to the fantastic work of our care home sector, if you look at what's happening now, the number of new outbreaks in care homes is massively down, and we're testing every care home worker weekly, testing every care home worker weekly, every care home resident every 28 days. We will increase testing both
So you
for,
promised
both
it
for,
would be different
both for
next time for
NHS
care homes.
and care home workers, both symptomatically and asymptomatically. And so we're learning the whole time.
This disease also affected you personally. Did you think you were going to die at that moment when you were so seriously ill?
I was very lucky, and I was treated. I had fantastic doctors and nurses in the NHS. For me and for quite a few others and this is an issue that we're raising today, is the issue, frankly, of being overweight, and that's why we need to tackle our national struggle with obesity. Typically, our great country tends to be a little bit fatter than many other countries in Europe. So you ask about my own personal circumstances, or one of the lessons I drew from that is the need for us all to be fitter and healthy.
What is your priority now? I mean, you've had this roller coaster year.
The priorities are exactly what they always have been, except more so, we're doubling down. COVID has taught me that for too long, this country has moved too slowly sometimes. And so we need to go faster. And when we look at some of the obstacles and problems that we have as a government and as a society, we need sometimes government, that's me, to be willing really to push and to move things along fast. If we're going to have any hope of delivering the infrastructure that we need. Yes, the country has been going through a very, very tough time. And psychologically, it's been an extraordinary time for the country. But I also know that this is a nation of incredible natural resilience and fortitude and imagination. And I think we will bounce back really much stronger than ever before.
Optimism, his familiar trademark.
Do you see yourself being here for the very long term?
Well, we're working very hard, Laura. And I thought I got through this interview already, folks. I mean,
But Boris Johnson has already discovered the real challenge of life in power is perhaps surprise. Laura Kuenssberg, BBC News, Downing Street.